It is race day once again here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. While summer will not officially begin for another few weeks, many consider the unofficial beginning of summer festivities to be on Memorial Day weekend. That is the case here today at the Michigan International Speedway, where for the second year in a row, the drivers of the American short trackers Voltson Super Trucks will battle it out for 50 laps for the second running of the Saar, Nebraska 100. There will be 28 drivers starting today's race, including many familiar faces returning from last season's competition, and several new ones as well. However, only one of them will be able to go home with the trophy at the end of the day, and we are about to find out who it is. The engines have been fired here on pit road, and as the field takes their warm-up laps, we're going to take you through the starting lineup. Rounding out the field is Mike Ramos, whose truck experienced a problem during his qualifying lap, and on his inside is Danny Vigo for the new Operation JM team. Connor Cota starting in 26th with Nancy Keith on his inside. Neither of them are full-time this year. Gordon Davis is not full-time either. Last year's championship runner-up starts 24th. Kathy Gargalak on his inside. Kim Conway makes her first visit to MIS with Daniela Jacobson on her inside. Ryan Anderson will start in 20th, and Allison Ashburn, another rookie, is starting in 19th. On the outside of row 9 is Mary Brousseau, who finished second in this race last year. Zach Churchill starts on her inside. Amberly Weiss in 16th and Brianna Prinzhorn in 15th, both still looking for their first wins. Wilson Timothy starts 14th, and Kevin Thompson on his inside. Outside of row 6 is the defending winner of this race and Sears Championship, Daryl Quick. Craig Hazel will start on his inside. Hunter Blaze starting in 10th and Richard Kowalczyk in 9th. John White starting in 8th position, with Carl Gargalak on his inside making his second start in this series and in this race. Ronald Way will start in 6th, with Tony Cross in 5th place. Chase Eberhardt on row 2 for the second year in a row, with Alex Martinez on his inside. Rookie Jason Miller will start on the outside of the front row, the owner of Operation JM. And on the pole position is Michael McKinley for the third time in his career. McKinley, of course, won the last 3 races of 2014, and it looks like he's carried his momentum here into the new season, as McKinley and Miller lead the field of 28 to the green flag to commence the 2015 season of the American short trackers Voltson Super Trucks. The 99M pulls ahead of the 40 as they head into turn 1, but Martinez jumps to the inside, and with a push from Cross, he's going to take the lead in the opening few moments of the race as the field comes out of turn 2 and flies down the backstretch. These trucks may be built for short tracks, but they have a lot of power under the hood. Approaching 200 miles an hour, McKinley gets momentum off of turn 2 and uses it all the way down the backstretch to reclaim the lead. Coming down the front stretch, McKinley's going to lead the first lap of the new season, but Jason Miller is on his inside now and is going to clear McKinley in turn 1. Miller is, just like McKinley, a dirt track racer from Indiana. He is from the Terre Haute Action Track, while McKinley is from Bloomington Speedway. This is his first start in the series with his own team, and he is making a very good first impression. He's been fast all weekend and is now leading the opening laps. And if you're new to this series, if you've never been on a track half this size before, this is probably going to make you very nervous. Allison Ashburn, we're on board right now here in the middle of a big pack of cars, focusing on Craig Hazel. That's Ashburn in the 4 truck right behind him. Trucks on their inside, outside, in front, and behind them. It is very close quarters here at the rear of the field, well, really throughout the field. But they have just made it past turn 2 on lap 3. We have officially made it further into this year's race than we did last year before the first caution. And there is 3 wide at the front of the field as well. McKinley trapped in an Outlaw Motorsports sandwich, with the 69 of Ronald Way on his inside and the 91 of Chase Eberhardt on his outside. But despite having the middle lane, which is generally considered the least preferred lane in a 3 wide situation, he's going to power off of turn 2 and reclaim the second position. Eberhardt now in 3rd, and Way dealing with Martinez. Running in 5th is Carl Gargalak in the 0 truck, the red and yellow Saar. Gargalak was in this race last year as well, but got caught up in a crash early on. He's running 3 wide with Daryl Quick on the inside and Alex Martinez on the outside for 6th place. Gargalak comes from the Appleton Speedway in Wisconsin, which may be much larger than most other short tracks in the area, but is still only half the size of the MIS. His daughter Kathy Gargalak is also in this race here today. 30 truck will be starting about half the races this season, whereas her father Carl is only in today's race. However, Kathy is not doing nearly as well as her father is in the opening stages, running in about 22. Nancy Keith and Mary Bursell right behind her. Very surprised to see them this far back, considering how well they did here last year. Towards the midfield, here's a trio of 3 rookies. The orange truck of Daniela Jacobson, that rather obnoxiously colored number 57. The 4 truck of Allison Ashburn, who is getting by Jacobson on the outside. And the blue 61 of Wilson Timothy. All 3 of these drivers qualified in the lower teens and are slowly working their way towards the front. The drivers behind leader Jason Miller have been battling hard for the second position, but they have not let the 40 truck out of their sights. And McKinley is going to power by Miller on the outside of turn 2. A fantastic run through and off the corner will see him retake the lead. Eberhardt and Gargalock are not able to follow him through immediately, but a couple of laps later the 91 is going to get around the 40 as well, and there are several drivers eager to join him. There's 4 wide for a moment in turns 1 and 2. Miller is going to get a big run on the outside, and that battle quickly fizzled out. Fortunately, that could have been a big crash if it had formed 4 wide off the corner. Hunter Blaze now on the lower end of the top 5, continuing to work his way forward, as well as Amberly Weiss. A new paint scheme on the 75 this year, and try not to let that take away from how fast Weiss was in the latter half of last season, because that has got to be the ugliest truck that I have ever seen. But it is much faster than it looks. Running up in 5th right now, battling for 4th with Gargalock as she makes it to the inside. Daryl Quick trying to go with her. Some very exciting battles here amongst the top 10 drivers, including for the lead once again, as Jason Miller is going to the inside of Michael McKinley, and with a push from Eberhardt, he's going to reclaim the top spot. Weiss now in 4th right behind them. And speaking of the top 10, Wilson Timothy in the 61 is about to clear Alex Martinez, and he gets by Ron Anderson as well in turn 2. Timothy raced in the FARC Regional Cup for the last few years, so he's got plenty of short track experience. He won at the Bowman Gray Stadium last year, but with the demise of that series, he has moved over into the AST Voltson Super Trucks. And as you can see from this flyby camera, and from this one at the end of the backstretch as well, the field is sort of starting to separate into 2 groups at about the halfway point. This second group is currently being led by the 23 of Mike Ramos and consists of about the last 10 trucks in the field, all of which are slowly losing the main pack as the race goes on. At the other end of the field, we have another lead change, and once again it is between Jason Miller and Michael McKinley. No other driver has led a lap so far today, and McKinley and Miller seemingly are racing each other only harder and harder as we approach the closing stages. They traded the lead about a dozen times during the first half of the race, but during the next 10 laps they're going to trade it about a dozen more. Neither driver is content with running in second place, and they are both still able to retain a good several car lengths over third place Chase Eberhardt. Eberhardt's been racing with Carl Gargalock for a while, but now that he has cleared the 0, he has an opportunity to catch up to the leaders. We're on board the 91 truck. You see McKinley going to the inside of Miller once again. These two continuing to trade the lead very often, and the crowd is loving it. But Eberhardt is not going to be able to catch up to them before Daryl Quick passes him on the outside of turn 3. Quick, of course, made the winning move in last year's race in that same corner. He has been able to take turn 3 faster than anyone else in the field, but it doesn't look like he can take turn 2 as well as Carl Gargalock can. At least not this time. Carl Gargalock makes a move on the outside of turn 2 and is going to slowly begin to pull ahead of Quick down the back straightaway. I don't think Quick was expecting that move, and he is eventually going to get around the 82 and catch up to the 40, challenging Miller, or challenging one of the top 2 drivers, I should say, for the first time in about half the race. But the 40 truck does not want to let McKinley go, and he's trying very hard to stay ahead of Gargalock, and focusing on holding off the 0 truck is certainly going to make it harder for him to focus on getting around the 99M. But nevertheless, Miller is still able to stay up right with McKinley. Off of turn 4, Gargalock gives him a push, and he moves to the inside, but then Gargalock goes low as well. They are 3 wide for the lead down the front stretch. Gargalock trying to take the position from both Miller and McKinley, the dominant trucks of the race at the same time. Quick right behind this, but it's not going to work for neither Gargalock nor Miller, as the outside line and McKinley are a pair that together cannot be beat. The 99M retains the lead, but Miller is still not deterred. He's coming to the inside of the 99M in turn 3, in a very smooth corner. He's going to take back the lead of the race. We are coming up to 5 laps to go now. And it looks like the race is going to come down to these 4 drivers. Gargolak trying to get by McKinley. McKinley has not fallen outside the top 2 at any time for the entirety of this race, and he's not going to now, as his truck is far too powerful on the outside of turns 1 and 2 for anyone to make a move on the inside. He blasts by the 0 yet again. Right behind these top 4 drivers is Chase Eberhardt, but he gets a terrible run into turn 3 and is going to be passed by Rachel Kowalczyk, Hunter Blaze, and Amberly Weiss. These 4 drivers themselves, at this point, are basically battling for the 5th position. And right behind them are positions 9, 10, and 11. Wilson Timothy and Allison Ashburn have done a great job of working their way into the top 10. But with just 4 laps to go, Ashburn is going to pull onto the apron on the front straightaway. A right front tire goes down on the 4 car. That's going to end her top 10 run. Big disappointment for Ashburn, but meanwhile, Jason Miller has just taken the white flag. He has a several car length lead over Michael McKinley, but turns 1 and 2 are McKinley's best part of the track. Watch the 99M close in on the 40 as they round the corner and head down the backstretch for the final time. Miller still has a couple of car lengths, but he is still within striking distance. As they head into turn 3, Gargolak's trying to run low, but he's not close enough to pose any threat to McKinley at this point. And now, out of turn number 4, Miller has the lead, but McKinley's closing in. He moves to the inside. The final sprint to the line, McKinley's making a run at it. Here they come at the checkers, it's Miller! The 40 truck of Jason Miller, in his first attempt at a race in the American Short Trackers Voltson Super Trucks, takes the win, holding off Michael McKinley by half of a car length. A very exciting race, ends with the closest finish in series history. What a fantastic race here in the Saar, Nebraska 100. Congratulations to Operation JM with Miller's victory. Michael McKinley will have to settle for second, but with a pole position and several laps led, it was still a very good debut to McKinley's first full-time season. Carl Gargolak, after a fantastic race of his own, will round out the podium, and this will be his only race of the year. Defending race winner Daryl Quick finishes in 4th. Rachel Kowalczyk will round out the top 5. Hunter Blaze in his second full-time season. He wasn't able to finish more than 3 laps last year after getting caught up in a crash in this race, but now that he was able to finish this year's race, he finished very well. Amberly Weiss finishes very well as well. This is her first visit to MIS, and she scores a 7th place. Chase Eberhardt finishes in 8th. Wilson Timothy on debut scores a top 10 of his own with 9th. And Gordon Davis, one of his few races that he will be running this year, will round out the top 10.